Hi, my name is Robert Chelle, and I'm an attorney that has over 2 decades of experience assisting veterinary associates with employment contracting and independent contractor review. Today's video is just going to give a brief breakdown of kind of the main things that we discuss during contract review and some of the things that are most important to veterinary associates. First, obviously the industry has gone through some enormous changes in the last 5 to 10 years with these giant corporate veterinary practices gobbling up all the veterinary-owned practices in the area, and that has changed some things substantially. And kind of go through maybe the differences between that, and then what to expect in the future as well. But the first thing that we generally talk about is compensation in the veterinary industry. Normally, it's either kind of 2 ways of doing it. You just have a straight base salary, which I would say is the most common. 2, you could have some kind of per diem, especially if you're doing relief work. You just get a set amount for the number of hours that you're working. And then ProSal is also very prevalent in the industry. And what that is ultimately kind of a hybrid of a guaranteed base, and then in addition to some productivity incentives. I mean, ultimately in ProSal, whatever your production is going to affect how much you make. And it's generally a percentage of whatever is collected by the clinic based upon your personal services provided. Timing of payments, meaning if you're paid on a percentage of collections, how often are you being paid? How often is it being reconciled? Is there opportunity for growth within the position? But I think overall the veterinary industry is pretty simple as far as compensation goes. It's just a matter of kind of explaining the options and whether the percentage being offered is actually fair or not. Next, non-competes. These are certainly something that can affect somebody. For instance, let's say you grew up in a town, your family's there, kids go to school, there's just like no way that you're going to move if the contract ends. Then this could be a pretty important part of the negotiation, making certain that the time restriction is reasonable, the geographic restriction is reasonable as well, and then also making certain that it's not a blanket you cannot provide or practice veterinary medicine within this area. We would want to make it very specific to what you're doing for that employer. So it could allow, for instance, relief work, urgent care, emergency, or if you're doing one of those, then you could be doing the other as well, or just generally, like a general small animal clinic as well. So making certain that the scope in a non-compete for a veterinarian is probably the most important part. For the most part, non-competes for veterinarians are generally enforceable in most of the country. Many states have started to do specific statutes for physicians, but it hasn't yet kind of bled through to veterinarians as much. And so I would expect in the future that will change, but right now, for the most part, most states would consider a non-compete for a veterinarian to be enforceable, as long as it's reasonable. Next, malpractice insurance. I think this is pretty easy for the industry as well. The vast majority of clinics or even corporates, corporate-owned entities use the AVMA PLIT, which is very simple. It's very affordable. Don't have to worry about tail insurance for the most part. So I find this isn't really a huge sticking point. The only thing I would suggest is the AVMA PLIT has like a professional licensed defense writer, which is basically you can add it on. I think it's like $100 a year or something like that. This would provide you with legal counsel if you were to have a board complaint, and it is the best $100 that you could spend in a year, whereas hiring an attorney could cost thousands and thousands of dollars to defend you. And as someone who's done licensing board defense, there are no more emotional complainants than the owner of a pet who has passed away. And so many times the complaints are, there's nothing to them, but the owner needs to blame somebody. So that's absolutely something you want to make certain you have in the contract. Call obligations is certainly something that we talk about. What happens after hours, what happens if you have to fill in for another veterinarian, and then termination, how to terminate the contract. You always want to have some without cause termination option, meaning you can terminate the contract at any time with a certain amount of notice to the owners. Generally, somewhere between 60 to 90 days would be a reasonable amount. And then obviously ownership track, buy-in. No one is going to put specific, like you're guaranteed to get some kind of partnership in the future. I would be like promising to marry somebody in 2 years. You can't enforce that. But having a discussion about that with the owners, if that's a possibility down the road, is important as well. So there's just kind of a brief rundown of some of the things we talk about. For every vet, it's different what's important to them, but we'll spend time on each area and making certain that they kind of understand what they're signing. If you have any questions about an employment contract or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm. Our contact information is listed below in the description, and I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks. Bye.